Okay, here we're in chapter 4 on fractions. This is section 4.4 on adding and subtracting fractions. So with adding and subtracting fractions, you need a common denominator. So if they already have a common denominator, let's say we have a over c and b over c, and those are two fractions that do have a common denominator of c, then we can take either their sum or their difference as follows. We can take a over c plus b over c is equal to, now we just add across the numerator, a plus b over that common denominator of c. Okay, or if we have a over c minus b over c, then we're going to take a minus b all over the common denominator. Okay, so it doesn't matter if we're adding or subtracting, we just take and do plus or minus on the numerator, and we keep that same common denominator. So what about the first one here? 4 sevenths plus 5 sevenths. Well, first, are they common? Well, 7 and 7 is a common denominator, so we'll say that's in the denominator. And then we take 4 plus 5 in the numerator. Well, 4 plus 5 is 9, so 9 sevenths is going to be our answer. All right, what if we take 4 sevenths minus 5 sevenths? Well, in this case, we're going to take 4 minus 5 over 7. And remember, that's the same thing as 4 plus the opposite of 5. So we take the larger minus the smaller, and then take the sign of the larger. So 5 minus 4 is 1. The sign of the larger is negative, so it's a negative 1 over 7. Okay. All right, what about the next one? We again have common denominators, 13 for both the addition and subtraction. So we can write that as a denominator already. Now we just take 9 plus 1, 9 plus 1, and so 9 plus 1 is 10, all over our common denominator of 13. All right, what about the next one? Well, again, we have a common denominator of 13, so we take 9 minus 1. Well, now we have just a normal subtraction. 9 minus 1 is 8, and that's over 13. So we didn't really have to say, oh, add the opposite, because, this is just a normal subtraction. Here we have 4 minus 5, so sometimes that's harder when you have a larger number you're subtracting off, and so we changed it to 4 plus the negative 5. Okay, and so that's a few examples here. So let's continue on. What about here? Well, x and x, well, that's common denominator, so that works. Then we have minus 5 plus a negative 8. Minus 5 plus negative 8. Well, here, those are like signs, so we can just add them. So 5 plus 8 is 13. Take the common sign, so a negative 13 over x. Okay. Now, again, it doesn't matter what our denominator is. As long as it's common, we just add those numerators. Or, in this case, we're going to subtract them. So if we have a common denominator of x, we can take a minus 5 minus a minus 8. Well, what's a minus 8? Well, that becomes plus. So let's go ahead and change a color here so we can see what we've done. That's become plus. And so really now what we have is 8 minus 5, or 5 plus 8. In either case, if we want to write it larger minus the smaller over x, then we have 3 over x. Okay. Well, here we have a different denominator. Here we had x's, now we have y's. No difference though. So now we just take minus 7 plus a 10. Well, that's really the same thing as 10 minus 7 over y. We want to write it to make it so we know larger minus is smaller. Well, 10 minus 7 is 3, and we have over y. Okay. What about here? Well, here we have, again, common denominator of y. So we have a minus 7 minus 10. Well, if we write that as minus 7 plus the negative 10, now we have same signs that we're adding. Again, it's still all over y. So minus 10 plus a negative 7. So 10 plus 7 is 17, and it's going to be a negative. And so we get negative 17 over y. Okay. So again, we just have to use our normal methods we use to add, subtract, for the numerators and our denominator. As long as it's common, we're good to go just to leave it as our denominator. All right, so we'll pause there and we'll come back for more.